This is what is left of our house. That was my car, and this was our home. Hi everyone, this is Kay Loves Perfume. Usually I post perfume related content, so if you're not into perfumes, don't subscribe because of this video. This video is going to be made to help people with PTSD from surviving wildfires, fires in general. Today I figured I would talk about my experience with surviving it's not technically a wildfire, it was the Sandalwood Fire that was started by a garbage company that decided to dump a burning load next to a dry brush field near my neighborhood, which just so happened to be a mobile home park, a nice upscale mobile home park in Southern California called Via Calamasa. I will insert pictures. Yeah, so they decided to dump a burning load right there. That was their policy, and it burned down my entire neighborhood. It killed some of my neighbors. One of my friends, she was like 80 or 90. Her name was Lois, and she was friends with my son. She would always wave to my son. She would stop every morning and say hi to my autistic son and to my baby at the time. And this happened in 2019. So I had a freshly 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. So she would say hi to my kids in the morning before I would have Junior go to preschool. They would play in the yard in the mornings and stuff, and she would always be very kind and say hi. She went back inside her house for her keys and her purse, and she died. And she lived a few houses down from me. So, yeah. And a couple houses the other way, my other neighbor died. And she was outside with her garden hose, and she just so happened to perish as well in the fire. And then somebody died of cardiac arrest and smoke inhalation from running from the fire. It was an older gentleman. And then someone else died because their CPAP machine, because of the power outage, and so their CPAP machine, or not CPAP, their oxygen tank machine wasn't working, and so they didn't have any oxygen to breathe. But yeah, so I'm going to walk you through what happened the day of October the 10th, 2019. So it was the windiest day of the year. It was during the Santa Ana winds, which in Southern California, the Santa Ana winds are like winds that go up to 50 miles an hour. I'm going to walk you through what happened on the windiest day of the year. So, Junior, we got up that morning. I had the kids play outside. Lois said hi as always. A couple neighbors always say hi to me and my son, Junior, and Jimmy, and my 2 sons. And so we were playing outside, and Junior's grandma took him to preschool. I stayed home with Jimmy. Junior came back from preschool. We had an appointment that day with Inland Regional Center, which is a center for people with disabilities. My son Junior has autism, and he is considered lower functioning right now just because of his age and that he doesn't talk quite enough yet. But every specialist we've seen, everybody said that he's going to be high functioning and extremely intelligent as an adult. But anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about. But Inland Regional Center is a place for resources and help on that. So I had a meeting to get Junior some help and some resources, and figure out like meetings with other autistic moms and things like that that I could go to. Well, so we had a meeting, and that meeting I believe was for 2:30, and we just so happened to go outside at 2 o'clock. The fire started the garbage company guy called 911 at 1:58 is in the records, I believe. And we were outside at 2 o'clock. By 2:06, I noticed this, like, lots of ash, and I'm like thinking, oh, there's a fire in Redlands. Oh, there's a fire nearby. This is Calamasa where I lived. Redlands was next to us. Well, it went Calamasa, Yucaipa, Redlands. Here's Calamasa, Beaumont, Banning. So we're in Calamasa, so I thought there was either a fire in like Beaumont or Banning or Yucaipa or Redlands. Did not know there was a fire in our freaking backyard. So we lived on the edge of the cliff. Our 31 was our house. We lived on the edge of the cliff. We were the house that had an add-on to it. So it was a double wide mobile home with an additional room which protruded onto the cliff towards where the fire was started, and our gas line was on the back side of the house. And yeah, and so as it was coming over the cliff, it looked like giant wall of fire. And so I made a couple phone calls, did not go back inside my house. I had my 2 kids, did not go back inside my house. And I rounded my kids up, made my phone calls, called my mother-in-law, called my dad, called my husband, made my phone calls, got the stroller out of the car, could not go back inside for my keys. I was like, there's no way I'm going back inside. Not with the gas line where it is. Glad I did not. So the stroller is a double stroller. My son with autism has a hard time listening and paying attention because he's kind of doing his own thing and stuff. So, and he at the time was nonverbal. So I got my youngest in the stroller. At the time I was like fumbling to try to get him in there. It was so hard. And I finally got him in there, covered him, grabbed Junior, rounded him up, put him in there. Didn't even have time to cover him. Ran down the street, didn't grab nothing, didn't grab my keys, didn't grab my driver's license, nothing. Didn't have time. Ran down the street, yelled at the neighbors, fire, 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 blah, blah, blah. And the neighbors all knew. They were all outside. As I made it down a street, about halfway, I remember kind of glancing over before I had left my driveway and seeing flames on the back side of the house because there's a tree back there. And then I remember seeing flames. I'm like, there's no way my house is going to burn down. There's no freaking way. There's no way. This does not happen. There's no way. And I remember thinking, no, it's not going to burn down. They'll probably get it out, even though there was a million fires in other cities nearby. So the firemen were not in town that day. So, I remember thinking, they'll get it out. They'll get it out. But as I made it halfway down the street, I heard this boom. My house exploded and was in flames, and yeah, I did not look behind me. I was like, not looking. Some part of me was like, run, Kayleen, run. And this, like, I lost faith in God before the fire because I didn't like the way Christians treated LGBTQ people. I didn't like the way people were judged by other Christians, and I thought it was horrible, and I blamed God for it. So I kind of lost my faith at that time. But I gained it back. I gained my faith back in God that day when I heard him tell me to run. He told me to run and not look back. I heard a voice that day. I know it sounds crazy, but I heard a voice that day. And ever since then, I've been trying to do everything I can to make up for my loss with God and my loss of faith. And the things I did in college and just the mistakes I made in my life. And I found my way back to God that day. And then these construction workers they were like city workers, and they were in their car, and they picked us up. I threw my kids in through the stroller in the back, and they took me to a park that was near our park, like a kids park. And we waited for my mother-in-law to come pick me up. I lost my phone in the process. But yeah, so there was black smoke by the time we even exited the park. The front of the park was on fire by the time we even left our mobile home park via Calamasa. By the time we left via Calamasa, there was fire at the entrance. It had made a C shape from my house to the entrance, and then it was making its way through East Street, which was a cul-de-sac, wiped out East Street, and then it wiped out the whole middle of the park. But I feel like this video needed to be made. I needed to get this out. I needed to get this out and tell people what this is like. So Mark with my kids and my mother-in-law came to pick me up. We made it to her house. Look at the news. Didn't look at the news. I had my father-in-law look. He came out of his office in tears. Never seen this man cry. He came out of his office in tears. Your house is gone. Ours was the first one gone. It was gone before the news helicopter even got there. I remember the news helicopter got there by the time I was at the entrance of the park with the construction workers. So, or the city workers, whatever they were like worked for the city or the construction of some sort. But we were at the entrance. I thanked those men, by the way. I thanked them. I hugged them. I thanked them. They were wonderful. They helped my family so much. But by the time we made it to the entrance, I remember all these helicopters. All these fucking helicopters. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, so that's my story of October the 10th, 2019. Now I want to tell you what it's like to live with PTSD and what I've been through since. So my 3-year-old at the time, he was 3, now he's turning 4. Anyways, so my 3-year-old at the time, he did not sleep for the first 2 weeks at night. He could not fall asleep at night. I think he remembers the way that the flames felt as we were leaving the park. It was so hot. It was like 130 degrees. I don't even know. Just extremely hot. And I'm sorry if I get emotional during this and like look away and stuff. It's hard to talk about. If I clip pieces of this video and I take little breaks and you see like it's like choppy a little bit, it's hard to talk about, but I want to talk about it. I want people to know what it's like to have PTSD and know that you're okay and this is normal. So he would have nightmares. He didn't sleep at night. He would sleep all day and would sleep at night. I had nightmares too. It didn't affect my 1-year-old. He had no idea. He didn't know. My husband would have dreams that me and my 2 kids, all 3 of us died. He kept having dreams that we were dead. And I kept having dreams that I was engulfed in flames. The sound of garbage trucks scared me. And you'd hear it every day, every day. We lived at my mother-in-law's for 8 months after the fire. We didn't know we had insurance until a few months after the fire. We thought our insurance had canceled, but ended up we were insured. Thank you, God. Thank you. And our insurance expired the day after the fire. It's like, there's definitely a higher power. Like, the day after the fire, our insurance had expired, so it's like, we were covered. But anyways, speaking about the nightmares, so I thought with time that they would go away. I thought with time that they would heal, so they did for a while. The nightmares would be kind of, Junior's nightmares are gone for the most part. He had a rough 2-week period, and adjustment with autism. Change is very hard for them. And traumatic events like that, they don't know how to, no normal person, well, no neurotypical person knows how to function with something traumatic like that. So imagine somebody with autism who processes things differently than most people. So it's both a gift and it's a disability and a gift at the same time. So like, they're more intelligent than everybody else, but it's also harder for them to comprehend things. It's harder for them to process things. So the change for him was so hard. The processing what happened was hard. He had nightmares. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. Now with my nightmares, they went away like a month after we found out we were insured. So it's like, oh, money fixes things. No, money does not fix things, honey. We bought a new house. I love our new house. It's wonderful. But now we live in a city. So I told you how Calamesa's in the middle. Yucaipa, Redlands, Calamasa in the middle, Beaumont, Banning. We moved to Beaumont. Now, Beaumont is beautiful, awesome town, yeah, whatever. But people like to shoot off fireworks here. And let me just tell you what that's like. So that explosion I told you about that I heard, Now, that's what the fireworks sound like. So someone with PTSD, your next door neighbor, or your neighbor a few houses down or a few blocks down, is having panic attacks and can't sleep, and nightmares, horrible nightmares, because you're shooting off these loud ass fireworks that are illegal in California, by the way. I don't mind the little ones on the ground, but you're shooting shit up into the sky. And do you know how that makes me feel? Or how that makes people with PTSD like mine, people that have survived California fires? It doesn't feel good. Let me tell you that. It does not feel good. Anyways, so I'm getting to something that happened 3 weeks ago. My husband was out of town. Fireworks were going off again. Yeah, around July. I was having a rough time. Naya Riviera was missing, and she was somebody that I really loved. I loved Glee. I loved watching Naya Riviera. I loved her acting. Her character of Santana was amazing, especially for LGBTQ people, pan people like me, bi, gay girls, any of that. It's just, Santana was amazing. She was spunky. She was confident. She was everything that I'm not. I'm not that confident. I'm not Santana. I'm kind of shy. I'm an introvert and extremely empathic, so I feel everyone's emotions, and Santana shuts off that. So yeah, I really loved Naya Riviera, and the day that they found her body, no, the day after they found her body, one of the days near there, I was locked out of my house. I had the oven on. I was making brownies. The dog, Cassie, I have a 3-legged pit bull. She likes to try to escape the yard. Well, anyways, so I was going to get her outside. I ended up getting locked out of the house. Didn't have a key outside. The spare keys hadn't been distributed yet between family members, and my husband was out of town. So I broke the bathroom window, had a panic attack, stupidly broke the window. My PTSD had kicked in. I thought the oven was going to explode the house, or the kids were going to touch the oven. I was freaking out. Anyways, so I'm going to post pictures of what had happened. I had stitches in 4 spots, over 20 stitches. I went through the bathroom window. I broke it really stupidly and wasn't thinking, and that's a product of what PTSD does to you. It didn't even hurt when it was happening. I had so much adrenaline. But this is what I'm looking like now after I had almost cut off my finger. And then this is one of my other spots. And this is another spot. And this is another spot. There's some on my legs, one on my stomach. But yeah, so PTSD is real. Living in California is really rough because there's lots of fires here. It's dry here, so it's like the fire is just like, it just loves California. It's hot and dry, but then again, they don't trim the brush on the forest floors, and they don't get rid of the dead stuff everywhere, and that causes a problem for the fires, obviously. And then there's people that like to go and start fires that are crazy. But anyway, so my fire may seem like insignificant in comparison to the campfire or other deadly fires, but it was a small scale that happened so fast. It tore up a whole neighborhood, killed hundreds of pets, hundreds of cats and dogs were killed in this fire. But it was just a small snippet of what people went through at the campfire. And I mean, theirs was on a larger scale. Ours was a small, compact scale in comparison. But I'm making this video because right now I'm in the Apple fire. My mother-in-law is evacuated. My great aunt-in-law, one of my favorite people, is evacuated, or almost had to evacuate. She lives in a senior mobile home community, somewhat reminiscent of what I lived in, but this is a senior community. And where I lived, it was young families and extremely old people. Where Nancy lives, it's all old people. But anyway, so the fire over there is still burning, but thankfully it's away from civilization. And this is something I have to deal with living in California, where the best resources for my son with autism are. The best resources are here in California, so I'm not moving, but I also have to live with the fact that there are California fires here, like, all the time. And it's kind of rough, yeah. It sucks, yeah, and I sometimes, like, after the fire, I was so suicidal. I was like, oh my god. And I mean, it wasn't about losing everything, because at the end of the day, those are just things. That's not everything to you. That's just stuff. At the end of the day, that's just stuff. What really matters is the fact that I survived and my baby survived. We survived the Sandalwood Fire. We survived. By the grace of God, we were outside that day. We were not in the house. We did not explode. We lived. We lived. If you look at the pictures that I post throughout this video of what was left of my house, you can tell that it incinerated everything. Everything. I might not have even had bones left if they found me. There wouldn't be anything to find. What, you can find a pile of ash? Because, yeah, that's what would have happened because of where we were located. And yes, if you're wondering, there are, I can't really talk about it, but there are, like, lawsuits in place against this garbage company. And yes, they did change their policy. Thank God they changed their policy. But, yeah, so I don't know what else to say except PTSD sucks. I have dreams that there's like this death demon in the corner, and like I wake up and I can't move, and there's this freaking death demon in the corner all like this at me. I know it sounds funny, but yeah, it's really freaking scary. And the flame dreams are like the worst. The flame dreams, like I have dreams like this house burns down. It sucks. It really sucks, and I'm sorry for anyone that has to go through this. I'm really sorry if you've ever had to endure what I had to endure, what my family had to endure. I'm really sorry. Being in a fire, feeling the flames. Oh, it's so hot. Like, it's like, you know when you step into a walk-in freezer. Imagine it's a walk-in oven. You're stepping into this walk-in oven and there's flames. That's a fire for you. And it's horrible. So I kind of made this video to kind of let it all out, to kind of get some things off my chest, to let you know what it's like to survive one of these California fires. Right now, the Apple fire is headed away from civilization. Thank you. And nobody died. One house burned down, but nobody's hurt. And, you know, it sucks that it's hard to think about when I said nobody died. I'm like sitting here thinking about Lois. My eyes are watering, and it's hard to think about her. It's hard to think about all the stuff that fire took. Like, there's so many memories. Like, my husband's cat's ashes. Like, you can't replace that. Gifts from my grandma. Photo albums. I was adopted. I've been through a lot as a child prior to adoption. But I had books with baby pictures of me. They're all gone. My adoption booklet is gone. My confirmation thing, which is when you get confirmed in a church, that's gone. My kids' baby pictures, thank God for the internet, they're still around. My pets were at my mother-in-law's. Thank God. My pets were at my mother-in-law's. We had been doing our yard, and we had just put in new artificial turf. So we had the pets stay, Scrappy and Cassie stay at her house for a while until we got everything figured out for what we were going to do with the dogs. And to be honest, dachshunds are a very, very hard breed to have, especially if you have children. A dachshund gets into everything, and they are a little bit of aggressive breed. They're very aggressive. So now we just have Cassie, and we gave Scrappy to her and to my father-in-law, and they love him. He's in a good home. He's still in the family, and he's happy, but he kept Cassie. She's great. She gets along with the kids. She doesn't get into everything, and yeah, but thank God they didn't die in that fire. Like, next door, their pets died. Across the street, their pets died. Some people had the Ring camera, and they watched as their house burned down and exploded, because I think several of those mobile homes exploded because of the fact that they're, like, this thin of walls, and once it hits something that, like, accelerates a fire, and, like, the gas line and things like that, it just... And, like, especially if you, like me, had a perfume collection, yeah, the perfumes go up in the flames. But anyways, so... yeah, I can link below resources. Definitely, I recommend therapy if you can afford that. I recommend going to see a psychiatrist if you need medication to rebalance your brain and rebalance the brain chemicals. If you're feeling suicidal, please get help. I will put down the suicide hotline, all of that. I lost my best friend a year before the fire to suicide, and I'll put a picture of her. She's the most beautiful girl I ever knew. Anyways, after someone dies of suicide, the whole family feels the effects of that. The best friend feels the effects of that. Like, there's not a day that goes by that I don't feel like I did something wrong. I know Even if your friend turns to drugs, still reach out to them. Don't ignore them, please. That's my biggest regret, ignoring her. I'm here for you. So many people are here for you. Please, please don't end your life. Just don't. Alright, I gotta end this video now. So, if you have been through this and stuff like that, please comment below. Please talk to me in the comments. I would love to talk to you. Alright. I'll see you guys in the next video, and the next video is most likely going to be perfume related. Bye.